The court notes that the matter that we're taking up here today pertains to both cases.
Lori and Chad Daybell, while legally joined together in matrimony, are not legally joined together in their criminal cases, but that could change.
In the matter of judicial economy, it made more sense to do them both together.
While the prosecutor filed the charges against Lori and Chad individually, meaning that the matters will proceed with separate hearings and trial dates, he is now seeking to have their cases consolidated. In court documents, Lori Vallow Daybell does not object to this joining, but Chad Daybell's defense is putting up a fight.
These two acted in concert together in the hiding of the evidence, the manipulation that brought forth the felony charges.
If consolidated under the same criminal case number, Lori and Chad would not only be considered co-conspirators, but also co-defendants.
More often than not, having both co-defendants sit at trial together makes an easier narrative for the state to carry that the crime was committed beyond a reasonable doubt, because the jury is presented with all of the actors at the same time. No one is allowed to point at an empty chair or a mystery third party if everybody's in the same trial.
Indeed, court documents allege that Chad, Lori, and her now deceased brother Alex Cox all conspired to, quote, commit the crime of concealing and destroying/altering evidence they knew would be produced, used, or discovered as evidence in a trial. And while Chad does face 2 additional counts of destruction of evidence because the remains of Lori's children, Tylee and JJ, were found on his property, this may not prevent consolidation when the crimes are related.
The rule in Idaho is that the state can move to consolidate cases, either multiple cases against a single defendant or multiple cases involving multiple defendants where they arise out of the same or what's called the common course of conduct.
However, conducting one trial for both Lori and Chad may not be appropriate if one or both intend to point the finger at each other.
There could be very strong justifications from both Lori or Chad to separate this trial, especially if Lori or Chad is going to make statements about the behavior of their co-defendant in controlling, manipulating, programming, or convincing them to commit the crime.
In court documents, Chad's defense argues joining the cases combines the coverage of both defendants' local media as well as national media and only adds to the level of attention and knowledge prospective jurors would have in the case. And this joinder would only add more attention and more bias to a case that has grasped the attention of almost everyone in eastern Idaho. Joinder would be extremely prejudicial to Mr. Daybell. However, the prosecutor argues that joining would streamline 2 complicated cases involving the same facts, witnesses, and crimes.
The 2 defendants are more likely to present a united front. There's always a possibility that one defendant can decide that it's in his or her best interest to implicate the other defendant. But I don't think that's something prosecutors usually count on.
So what exactly is going to happen tomorrow? What does it all mean? Let's bring in CourtTV legal correspondent Chanley Painter and CourtTV special contributor Ashley Banfield. All right, Chanley, paint the picture for us tomorrow. What can we expect? Will they both be there, and will they be there in person? Will they be Zooming? What do we expect?
As much as we'd like to see that reunion in court between the 2 of them, no, Lori Vallow Daybell will not be present in court tomorrow. In fact, her attorney waived. He actually consented to this joinder. He didn't object to it, so she's okay with being joined with her husband in the same trial. However, Chad Daybell is not so okay with it. We're going to hear some intense arguments from his attorney, John Pryor, who will appear. Chad will appear. Now, originally, Vinny, this was supposed to be an in-person hearing because not only was the court to take up this motion to join from the state, but also a defense motion to dismiss. That motion to dismiss was continued to November. So now with only one motion at stake, they moved it to a remote hearing. So it will take place tomorrow at noon Eastern, on the Zoom that we're all familiar with, a hearing that we've seen before in these cases. And again, the defense will argue to not join, saying, look, it's going to be very prejudicial to Chad Daybell to have these cases together. So there's a couple of different options that could happen. The judge could say, yes, let's have one trial, or no, let's keep them separate. And if that's the case, here are the key dates to look out for if he does decide that. So Chad Daybell, his trial will maintain at January 11th through 29th. And then Lori in March of 2021.
Chanley, should we read anything into the way each side is approaching this? Do you think it's the lawyers, or do you think it's the defendants? And it's Chad who says, don't bring that woman anywhere near me. And it's Lori saying, oh, yeah, I'll do it with Chad.
Well, there are so many ways that we could read into this, right? It could be the parties, it could be the defendants, the attorneys, or maybe it could just be, why don't you fight the fight for us? Let's get it all hammered out, and then I don't have to appear as well. So it's interesting that you bring that up, Vinny. Remember, she had the opportunity to appear at the same hearing with her husband when they had a joint hearing a couple of months back, and she chose not to. So there may be some trouble in paradise.
Ashley, do you concur?
Oh, I think there's trouble in paradise. I thought that when they were arrested in paradise. I mean, honestly, well, at least when she was, I'm just dying to know what the prejudice would be. I mean, obviously, I want to know what's the problem with joining these. I mean, it's been argued ad nauseum that joinder is made for conspiracy cases, right? And they're both charged with the same conspiracy. And they even outline in the memorandum supporting this motion that this is going to be two trials with almost all the same witnesses, almost all the same evidence, and pretty much the entire same story. So where's the problem? That's what I'm super curious about. But I'm also really interested just to see that, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals has said before, joint trials are particularly appropriate where co-defendants are charged with conspiracy. These two are charged with conspiracy, and they have acted in concert from the get-go. They jetted off together to Hawaii when the heat was close and when the police started coming to check up on where JJ was. They were holding hands and getting married together in Hawaii. They weren't answering questions in Hawaii. They were getting a place without children in Hawaii. They were on the phone together with Melanie Gibb, trying to convince her that Tammy, my wife, was just getting sicker and sicker. And, she just went off and died. And that's all there is to that. They did that together. They also misdirected the police together. So they've done a lot together, which sounds to me like their cases should be together.
Yeah. There they were down in Hawaii till 5-0 caught up with them, Chanley. Their anniversary's coming up, isn't it?
Yeah, just about a week away. I think a week from today, November 5th, their wedding anniversary. Speaking of Hawaii, they married just a couple of weeks after the death of, as we know, of Tammy Daybell, Chad Daybell's first wife. They went to Hawaii, were married, and then they went back there, and that's where she was arrested. So now again, if they're joined together tomorrow, the judge says, hey, it'll be a great reuniting on their 1-year wedding anniversary.
Unbelievable. Hey, let's take a stroll down memory lane here. And this may be, and we'll have to, I don't know if you can confirm it or not, this may be the last time that they ever spoke to one another. Let's take a listen to Lori Vallow Daybell speaking with Chad.
Hi, Dad.
Hello.
Are you okay?
So they're searching the property.
The house right now?
Yeah. So Mark means will be talking to you.
Okay. What, are they in the house?
No, they're out in the property.
Are they seizing stuff again?
They're searching. There's a search warrant, and so we're interested in this with the kids.
Okay.
Chanley, can we confirm if that was the last time that they spoke? Do we know if they ever had any, conversation after that? Because that's right before he gets locked up.
Really, all that we've been told, now we're hearing different things from the jail. So where Lori is being held at the Women's Detention Center in Madison County, they allow inmate-to-inmate communications on these tablets. I know that Ashley's told us all about. But when we speak to the Fremont County Jail, where Chad Daybell is, they say they don't allow inmate-to-inmate communication. But we do know that at least one attempt was made while they've both been incarcerated via letter. Now, we're not sure whether it made it to the other one or who sent it, but we know they've been attempting to.
All right. Thank you so much, Chanley. Ashley, we're going to speak at the top of the hour.